හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Friday the 24th of November 2023. Monetary policy relaxed. Central Bank reduces key rates by 100 basis points. CBSL chief expresses confidence in unlocking the second tranche of the IMF program next month. Beyond targets. The BOI earns over $1.8 billion in total investments as of yesterday, reveals the State Minister of Investment Promotion.
And the target set was 1 billion, but we have managed to achieve 1.8 billion as by November.
Understanding taxes. Tax expert urges the government to raise taxes gradually and avoid abrupt increases.
Getting a higher tax target is not realistic for a country like Sri Lanka. It should happen gradually.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to AdaDerana First at 9. I'm Aditya Dirsingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story tonight, upon careful scrutiny of the macroeconomic trends affecting Sri Lanka at present, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka yesterday decided to further reduce its standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate by 100 basis points to 9% and 10% respectively. Addressing the Monetary Policy Review media briefing this morning, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe said Sri Lanka will be able to unlock the second tranche of the program with the International Monetary Fund next month after obtaining financial assurances from Sri Lanka's bilateral creditors. Speaking further, the Central Bank Governor said Sri Lanka is making good progress in terms of the IMF program and added that Sri Lanka will receive more budgetary support from lenders such as the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank following the approval granted to Sri Lanka's IMF program. At the Monetary Policy Board meeting of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka yesterday, its officials decided to reduce the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the Central Bank by 100 basis points to 9% and 10% respectively. According to the Central Bank, the board arrived at this decision following a careful analysis of the current and expected developments in the domestic and global economy with the aim of achieving and maintaining inflation at the targeted level of 5% over the medium term while enabling the economy to reach and stabilize at the potential level. At the media briefing organised by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to announce the latest decisions on monetary policy, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe shared insights on Sri Lanka's progress pertaining to the program with the IMF.
The Treasury Secretary has said that we may be seeing Sri Lanka come before the IMF Executive Board on the 6th of December. And how do you think that situation will go? Do you think that we'll see some clarity on forward movement on the debt restructuring from bilateral creditors and others soon?
I am confident that we are making very good progress. And we'll get assurances from all official creditors soon for the financial assurances that we need for us to complete the first review, the IMF, within the next month. That certainly will happen. So we are moving in the right direction and we will see a very positive outcome soon.
It's our understanding that the IMF Executive Board is yet to give approval for the second tranche. So can you give us more details on this and how long it will take and whether there are any recent developments?
On the IMF, what we can say, we will get the IMF program approved within the month of December. So making good progress, and that what is required for that is to assurance from official bilateral creditors from both OCC, Official Credit Committee, and Chinese Exim Bank. Chinese Exim Bank already given their consent. We hope that OCC will soon give us the consent, and so that IMF would be able to approve the second tranche. The first review will be completed within the next month. With that, there will be another additional flows also from ADB, World Bank, and IMF budget support will also come, and that will help government budgetary financing from next month onwards. So that's the process.
Analysts have voiced concern that growth has been lackluster, that we may not hit the 2% contraction for this year that has been projected by by the central bank. Is that your sense as well?
This monetary policy changes in second half of this year will have impact on next year growth, not this year growth. This year recovery is already happening, and that's what we see. The continuous declining in GDP growth on quarterly basis happen up to Q2 of this year. But what we see Q3 and Q4 on quarterly basis or year-on-year quarterly growth will be marginally positive. But given the whole year, because we have a large negative growth in Q1 and some negative growth in Q2, so overall still will be marginally negative this year. But going forward, the next year onwards, I think I'm sure our expectation is that we will move into a whole year the positive growth territory. But numbers still too early. We have to wait and see what are the Q3 numbers and Q4 numbers, and on that basis we will rise.
You expect it to still be a minus 2% for this year?
This year, I don't think we should talk about the exact number. It should be around that range, I think.
Governor, every time the central bank reduces the rate, we don't see similar kind of reduction in the market lending rates, right, in a similar pattern. What are the measures the central bank has taken to reduce this downward stickiness?
No, downward rigidness, interest rates are downward rigid, especially in an environment where there are a lot of uncertainties. That's why last 6 months, although we reduced rates by say 450 or some basis points, because of the uncertainty in the debt restructuring, uncertainty in the IMF programs, and uncertainty in the completion of certain measures and the budget, all these things create a bit of a additional premium on the. That's why we are saying even government securities rates should be much lower than this compared to what you said our policy rates. That's what I said. Going forward, once we clear those uncertainties, then there's a lot more stability and predictability in the markets. The rates should come down fast, and obviously it's natural thing. Any prices downward, there's a rigidity. It will take some time to transmit that into a lower. When any prices or rates are increased, then obviously its transmission is fast. That's a natural market phenomena. But we think, but this delay is, we would like to see a fast adjustment of transmission of policy rates into market rates, short-term rates, and then government securities, and then obviously other market rates. That will happen. That's one of the reasons why we issue this direction, is to encourage and make the banks to bring that rates faster.
Now in Parliament today, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said the Constitutional Council is a part of the executive which was established to facilitate the appointments made by the President. Meanwhile, also addressing the Parliament, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said several taxes, including the value-added tax, will be applicable for fuel. However, he assured that steps will be taken to ensure minimum impact to the prices of diesel and kerosene.
ඊයේ පෙරේදාත් මම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සඳහන් කරා ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම අපේ ව්‍යවස්ථාදායක සභාව විධායකයේ කොටසක් කියලා. ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා දවසේ සුමන්දරන් මන්ත්‍රණයක ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කළා තියෙනවා. මේක විධායකයේ කොටසක් හැබැයි යෝජනා කරේ. විධායක ජනාධිපතිතුමා කරන පත්කීමට සහාය වෙන්න. දෙවනුව කතාවක් කරා. එතුමා කිව්වා නීතිඥ සංගමේ ප්‍රකාශයකට අපි අත්සන් කරලා තිබුණා කියලා. මම එකක් කියන්නම්. මට ඔය නීතිඥ සංගමේ මාව කැඳෙව්වෙත් නැහැ. මගෙන් ඇහුවෙත් නැහැ. මම මොකක්වත් අත්සන් කළත් නැහැ. නවෙන්දට ඉස්සෙල්ලා සතිය අපි සාකච්ඡා කරද්දී අපි ඔක්කොම එකඟ වෙලා තිබුණා මේ ආණ්ඩුවට ගෙනියන්න බැරි නම් අයින් වුණොත් පළමුවෙන්ම විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා කැඳවන්න ඕනේ. එතුමාට කැඳවන්න බැරි නම් කරන්න පුළුවන් කවුද කියලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සාකච්ඡා කරමු. ඊළඟට මොකද්ද සිදු වුනේ? 7 වෙනිදායි 8 වෙනිදායි නීතිඥ සංගමයේ ගිහින් ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා කතා කරා. එදා කතා කරේ මේ විපක්ෂ නායකටවත් කාටවත් දෙන එක නෙමෙයි. එදා කතා කරේ දේශපාලනෙන් තොර කවුරු හරි පවත් කරන්න ඕන කියලා. මම දන්නවා නීතිඥවරුන්ට ඒගොල්ල බරාපොරොත්තුනේ සාලිය පීරිස් මහතුමා മന്ത്രിවරයෙක් වෙලා අගමැති වෙයි කියලා. ඔක රහසක් නෙමෙයි. අපි ඔක දන්නවා. තුමාලා ගිහින් කිව්වා ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මාව කැඳවන්න කියලා. ඊපස්සේ මට ඇවිල්ලා කරදර කළා කතා කරොත් එපා කියන්න එපා ගිහින් හම්බෙන්න කියලා.
මොකද ජනාධිපතිතුමා යන්නේ? ඇයි බය වෙලාද යන්නේ? කොහෙද යන්නේ? අයියෝ පැනලා යනවනේ. මොකෝ පැනලා යන්නේ? ජනාධිපතිවරයාට කරුණා කරලා කියන්න කොන්දක් තියෙනවා නම් අදහස් ඉදිරිපත් කරමින් පස්සේ අපේ අදහස් වලට සවන් දෙන්නට මේ සභාවේ රැඳී සිටින්නේ කියලා කරුණා කරලා ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා.
මේ රටේ මිනිස්සු ලයිට් නැතුව හිටියා, තෙල් නැතුව හිටියා. මිනිස්සු පෝලිං වල මැරුණා. එහෙම වෙනකොට විපක්ෂ නායකවරයාට අපි ගිහිලා කිව්වා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා ආරාධනා කරනවා ගිහිලා මේක බාරගන්න. මොකද්ද කරේ? හැමදාම කල් මැරුවා. වෙලාවෙන් වෙලාවට කතා කරලා හවසට කියනවා හා අපි හෙට දාමු අනිත් දවසේ ඇවිල්ලා කියනවා බෑ කියලා. කාටද කොන්ද පණ නැත්තේ?
මේ ගරු සභාවට මුදල් පිළිබඳ කාරක සභාව ඉදිරි අවුරුදු වලදී කරන වැඩපිළිවෙලට එකඟ වෙච්ච ආකාරය සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අනුමත කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ විපක්ෂය විසින් දිගින් දිගටම මීට විරුද්ධව තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. එතකොට එතුමන්ලා යම් කිසි දවසක ආණ්ඩුවක් ගත්තොත් අපි හිතමු බැරි වෙලාවත් රටේ අවාසනාවට හරි එවැනි දෙයක් වෙලා මේ වැඩපිළිවෙල සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වෙනස් වුණොත් මේ මුළු රටම කඩා වැටෙනවා. ඒක නිසා අපි විවාදයක් ඇති කරගන්න ඕනේ මේකට එකකද නැද්ද?
විවාද කරන්න.
සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් ඕනෙම වෙලාවක තමුන් සමග ප්‍රසිද්ධ විවාදයකට හුඟක් දවස් 7ක් ඕනේ නැහැ. එක පැය 3ක් විවාදයකට එන්න කියලා මම ආරාධනය කරනවා.
දැන් වැට් එක 118 කරනවා. එතකොට දැන් කතාවක් තියෙනවා එන අවුරුද්දේ ඉඳලා මේ තෙල් වලටත් වැට් එක එකතු කරන්න යනවා කියලා.
විශේෂයෙන්ම වැට් බද්ද අදාළ වෙනවා ඉන්ධන සඳහා ඒක යෝජනා වෙන්නේ 10 වෙනිදා. අපි තව බදු කීපයක් තියෙනවා ඉන්ධන මත තියෙන. ඒ ඉන්ධන මත බදු යම් ආකාශයක තුලනය කිරීමක් කරලා විශේෂයෙන්ම ඩීසල් සහ භූමි තෙල් වලට ඒ බලපෑම ඇති නොවන ආකාරයට කටයුතු කරන්න. නිසා ඒක ඉදිරියේදී අපි ඒ වෙනුවෙන් අවශ්‍ය තීන්දුව ගන්නවා.
Now, meanwhile, the petition filed by the President of Sri Lanka Cricket, Shammi Silva, against the decision of Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe to appoint an interim committee for SLC was taken up in court for the fourth day today. Making submissions in court today, Additional Solicitor General Milinda Gunathilaka highlighted that on the contrary to the claims purported by the petitioner, the Secretary to the Ministry of Sports has not misled the court by submitting misleading information. Following the decision by the Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe to dismiss the Cricket Board and appoint an interim committee in its stead, President of Sri Lanka Cricket Shammi Silva filed a petition in the Court of Appeals against the Minister's decision. Through the petition, Shammi Silva urged the courts to overrule the decision taken by the Minister of Sports to install an interim committee to govern Sri Lanka cricket, citing several legal defects in the Gazette notification issued by the Minister in that regard. In the Court of Appeals, the Minister of Sports, named as a respondent in the proceedings, submitted that the President of Sri Lanka Cricket has filed the petition without the approval of the SLC Executive Committee and that the petition must be dismissed since the President of the SLC has no legal authority to file such a petition without the approval of the Executive Committee. Against this backdrop, the matter was taken up in court for the fourth day today. Additional Solicitor General Milinda Gunathilaka, appearing on behalf of the Secretary to the Ministry of Sports, made submissions before the two-judge bench comprising Justices Sobhita Rajakaruna and D.N. Samarakon this morning. Appearing in court today, the Additional Solicitor General submitted that the facts stated in the affidavit produced by an official of the Ministry of Sports are true. The Additional Solicitor General further submitted that on the contrary to the claims purported by the petitioner, the Secretary to the Ministry of Sports has not misled the court by submitting misleading information. Subsequently, the bench adjudicating the matter decided to postpone the petition until next Monday, the 27th of November. President's Counsel Sali Peiris, appearing for the interim committee appointed to govern Sri Lanka cricket, is scheduled to make submissions when the court reconvenes next Monday.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුව උනත් එක්කහු කරා ක්‍රිකට් වලින් සිවිල් සංවිධානය එක්කහු වෙනවා ක්‍රිකට් වලින් මේ රටේ ක්‍රිකට් තමයි හැම දිනකටම සතුට ලැබලා දුන්නේ. ඒක නැති වෙච්ච එකේ තමයි මේ ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒක හදාගන්න තමයි අපිත් හදන්නේ නැත්තම් ප්‍රවීණ ක්‍රීඩකයන් එක්කෙනෙක්වත් මේකට පැටලෙන්න ආස වුන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි දැන් එක්කම එන්න කැමති වෙලා තියෙනවා ක්‍රිකට් ටික හදලා දෙන්න. ඉදිරියේදී කරලා දෙනවා.
Now, meanwhile, the Colombo District Court today dismissed a petition filed by State Minister Derana English seeking an interim injunction against the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Samaga Jana Balawege's General Secretary Ranjith Madumbandara. In her petition, English had sought an interim order preventing Sajith Premadasa from functioning as the SJB's leader and Ranjith Madumbandara as the party's General Secretary, alleging that the two politicians are not suitable to hold their respective positions in the main opposition. The petitioner had pointed out that pursuant to the SJB's constitution, a member of another political party cannot hold membership in the SJB. She said there are pending court cases filed by Sajith Premadasa and Ranjith Madumbandara with regard to their membership in the UNP. As such, Gamage has sought an interim order ruling that it is unlawful for the duo to hold their respective positions in the SJB as they are still members of the UNP. During today's proceedings, Colombo District Court Judge Sadun Vithana ordered the petitioner and the respondents to submit their responses on the 12th of February next year. After taking into consideration the submissions presented today, the judge determined that the petitioner has refrained from disclosing certain details in her complaint. Accordingly, the judge refused to deliver an interim order against the SJB leader and the General Secretary. Now, in other local developments, the body of a police constable who was washed away during an attempt to locate a suspect yesterday was recovered today. The police constable had been chasing a suspect who had fled the police while in custody for several offences, including breaking and entering. In the meantime, 2 armed thieves reportedly broke into a cooperative regional rural bank in Uyandana in Kurunegala and stole 200,000 rupees. With that, let's take a look at more developments across the island in brief.
A suspect who was under police custody for several offences, including breaking and entering, reportedly attempted to escape police custody yesterday morning. The suspect, who was fleeing the police, had jumped into the Jayala Canal. Subsequently, 3 police officers who chased the suspect had also jumped into the canal in search of the suspect. One of the police officers was swept away by the current during yesterday's incident, and his body was recovered near the Nigambu Lagoon in close proximity to the Pamanugama Sedawatha area today. In Kurunegala, meanwhile, 2 armed thieves reportedly broke into the Cooperative Regional Rural Bank of Uyandana and stole 200,000 rupees. The robbery, which took place yesterday afternoon, was recorded by a nearby CCTV camera. Amid ongoing investigations, the suspects in connection with the incident are yet to be apprehended. In other news, a 19-year-old girl was killed in an accident in Galevela after a bowser which was transporting asphalt collided with a 3-wheeler which the girl was travelling in. Several members of the girl's family who were on their way to attend a wedding ceremony sustained injuries from the incident. The parents of the deceased girl, as well as her sister injured as such, were admitted to hospital for treatment.
Welcome back. Now, State Minister of Investment Promotion Dilum Amanugama reveals that Sri Lanka has surpassed the investment target of $1 billion set by the Ministry of Finance for 2023 by securing investments worth $1.8 billion up till November this year. Meanwhile, addressing the media, the State Minister went on to say that an investment target of $2 billion will be achieved by December this year.
For 2023, our target for investment was set by the government or the Ministry of Finance was $1 billion. With the situation that prevailed in the past, it seemed to be a very difficult target to achieve. It had been achieved in the previous years, but we had to come up with some sort of mechanism to try and meet up with the target. The recovery had been speedy as far as other countries also who are impacted. I'm happy to say that we have managed to achieve our targets, and the target set was $1 billion, but we have managed to achieve $1.8 billion as by November. And I think by December, we should be able to hit a target of $2 billion, which would almost double the target that was set by the Ministry of Finance for the BOI and the Ministry of Investment. So that is quite a bit of good news and quite a bad time for the government. And also it will give the country a good impression and a good message with all the bad publicity we have had in the past that we are back on track.
Now, with more business news, some economists are of the view that Sri Lanka should avoid abrupt tax increments while highlighting that such increases must be made gradually. They are of the view that increasing the VAT to 18% can increase production costs and thereby reduce demand in the economy. Today, we have Senior Lecturer of the Department of Economics at the University of Colombo, Dr. M. Ganeshamurthy, joining us in the next segment, Understanding Taxes in Sri Lanka, sharing insights on Budget 2024.
Budget 2024 in Sri Lanka has raised a lot of concerns, especially with regard to the revenue proposal. This time, the revenue targets are mainly set by the IMF, and the government is, repeating the IMF's targets in the budget itself. The revenue proposals should reflect the real situation of the economy. When the economy is in recession, setting high revenue targets, especially tax targets, mostly they miss the targets. So this time the economy has gone down in a drastic way during the last 2 years, and especially recent changes in the income tax did not augment the necessary revenue for the government. According to the IMF observation, the revenue target they have missed. So therefore, this time in the budget, the government is trying to raise it by increasing VAT by 3%. And that is also a kind of an indirect tax which will increase the cost of production as well as the prices in the country, which may dampen the demand of the economy. And when demand goes down, the revenue targets, usually the governments miss. Also, strengthening the revenue collection mechanisms may be helpful for the government to augment revenue. But within 1 or 2 years' time, and getting a higher tax target is not realistic for a country like Sri Lanka. It should happen gradually. First, the economy should be back on track, and then only the tax targets could be materialized. In this budget, I don't think that the government will achieve the tax targets or the revenue targets. Probably they will miss it because of two reasons. One is the economy is still in recession, so no sign of recovery yet. Second, the VAT and other indirect taxes will put a pressure on the cost of production, and then inflationary trend will increase, and tax also kind of an inflation. So it's a double inflation on the people.
Now in more local business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed in green today, aided by gains in industrial and consumer discretionary stocks. The Colombo Stock Exchange all-share price index settled up 0.04% to end at 10,526.93 points. However, the index fell for a second straight week, shedding 0.81%. The Ceylon Tobacco Company and the Ceylon Beverage Holdings were the top gainers on the index, rising 0.99% and 5.93% respectively. Trading volume on the ASPI fell to 20.1 million shares from 27.9 million shares in the previous session. The S&P Sri Lanka 20 meanwhile climbed 0.07% to end at 2,981.93 points. The market's turnover fell to 430.3 million rupees from 812.3 million rupees in the previous session. The diversified financial sector was the top contributor to the market turnover, while the capital goods sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign investors were net buyers purchasing stocks worth 43.3 million rupees, while domestic investors were net sellers offloading shares worth 421.5 million rupees. Now let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Now, Hema's hospitals recently introduced Hema's ambulatory surgical care in a bid to make surgeries more convenient, highly cost-effective and patient-centric. Meanwhile, MA's Active was crowned Sri Lanka's overall exporter of the year for the 2 years 2021 to 2022 and 2022 to 2023 at the recently held Presidential Exports Awards ceremony. With that, let's take a look at the latest in Sri Lanka's corporate sector today. Redefining the healthcare space in Sri Lanka, Hema's Hospital seeks to transform patient recovery from advanced surgeries, allowing patients to return home on the same day and recover faster, better and more comfortably by adopting superior surgical techniques with its new initiative, Hema's Ambulatory Surgical Care. The new initiative aims to make surgeries more convenient, highly cost-effective and most importantly, it aims to provide a uniquely patient-centric approach. All surgeries are performed in strict adherence to Australian Council of Health Standards international guidelines, ensuring the highest quality and safety standards. A standout feature of Hema's ambulatory surgical care is that it is provided through a technical collaboration with Alexandra Hospitals in Singapore, under the National University Health System, which is a global leader in minimal invasive surgeries and pain management. Meanwhile, MA's Holdings announced the resounding accomplishments of its subsidiaries MA's Active Trading Private Limited and MA's Intimates Private Limited at the Presidential Exports Awards for 2021-2022 and 2022-2023. In recognition of the company's contributions to Sri Lanka's export sector, MA's Active secured Sri Lanka's overall Exporter of the Year award for the 2 years 2021-2022 and 2022-2023. Alongside these two most coveted awards, together MA's Active and MA's Intimate secured a total of 16 awards at the event. In other news from the corporate sector, Dilma Ceylon Tea Company plc recently appointed John Michael Lowe as a non-executive independent director of the company with effect from the 21st of November. John Lowe is a professional investment consultant with experience of over 30 years. He also currently serves as an advisor to several companies including Patience Capital Group, a private equity company specializing in Japanese real estate. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of AdaDerana First at 9. Stay in touch with us on www.adaderana.lk for the latest developments around the clock. Thank you. Have a great night.
news and information you can trust 24 hours a day. Visit AdaDerana.lk.